Hello, I would like to inform you that what you're about to listen to are our views and comments from the hosts and guests that only reflect their own view and not the community's as a whole. You're also committing to hire us at some point in the future, whether or not you want to or you like our work. I hope you enjoy the podcast. And Eddie, play the banter section.
I think the world ended because Clark Gregg was actually at LSPC.
I know. I actually saw him. I almost got a photo with him. I thought, do you know what? He's here. And I thought, I saw how much he was charging. I went, fuck that. No, I haven't got that much money.
I was
But
debating getting another ticket for him because obviously there was the saga with me having to get my money back after nearly 3 years of back and forth with them. And they were an absolute shit show. Unsurprisingly for show masters, but I debated it, and then I was like, you know what? I just don't care anymore. Don't get me wrong, I would love to have Clark Gregg for my Avengers cast collection, but I just don't care for LSPC at all.
Oh wait, are you the one that met Scarlett Johansson? Sorry, Kev, did you know that this is literally the Scarlett Johansson's shadow?
Right. Okay. Right. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but
Hello everybody, this is the Ed Talks About podcast, a weekly podcast talking about cosplay, Comic-Con, and everything else. I'm your host, Eddie. This week we are talking about, should we be worried about AI in cosplay? Joining us on the podcast is Alex from Natashka Cosplay. Have I got that right this time?
You have got this right. I think it's the first time.
Because I actually wrote it down this time. But this is one that's going to trip me up a lot. And also joining us on the podcast is Kevin. Have I got that right?
Yes.
From Kev Pack Photography.
Yep.
Yeah.
Photography. Yeah.
Woo! Kevin Pack. Sorry, I forgot the in bit. Sorry. So Kevin Pack Photography. How are you both anyway?
Yeah, I'm good. I got Taylor Swift tickets today, so we're very good. There was a lot of screaming and a lot of stressful. It was a Teams call between me and Laura, just screaming at each other for about an hour. But we did it. We're going.
Kevin, did you get your Taylor Swift tickets today as well?
No, I seem to have missed out. I wouldn't mind going to see Taylor Swift.
Well, yeah.
How much was it though? I'd imagine it's quite expensive.
It was all right actually. Our tickets were $92.
Oh, that's not too bad.
No, and that was with all the fees and everything after, so they were cheaper. But yeah, we did all right.
That's reasonable. That is reasonable.
You don't want to get a mortgage price ticket for it then?
Oh no, my mortgage is going through right now, so my broker might have a heart attack if I had.
You want to take a holiday on your mortgage? Why? Oh, Tay-Tay. It's for the Tay-Tay. All right. Okay. All right. Anyway, well, since we started to do the 7-day checkup, I'll start with Alex. Besides the Taylor Swift tickets that you got, how are you? How's the last 7 days for you?
Yeah, it's been all right. We've had some stress at work, but other than that, we're pretty good.
Not missing out on. I don't know what you're missing out on. I don't know. Fuck it. I don't know. So I don't. When you're trying to create like chatter in your head, you're like, this will be good, and then go, no, that was not a good idea. No. Kev, what about you? How's the last 7 days for you?
Been a bit hectic. I'm changing my studio share for my photography business. So I've been moving gear out and getting rid of furniture and moving things around, ready to welcome in my new partner in the studio. And I've also, my other job, which I do a bit of accounting, I handed my notice in. So quite a lot of changes in the last 7 days.
That's a lot going on there.
Yeah, a lot going on. Yeah.
All I want to do is just sleep not for the last 7 days, for the next 7 days. I'm just exhausted.
Yeah.
So apologies if I don't sound like top form. Like, I don't know. Have I ever been on top? Let's not go down that road. Jeez. Let's not go down that road. But how am I? I'm just trying to think what I've been up to. I was in York the other day with my job. We send our students around the country every so often, and my job goes, "Oh, do you want to come along?" I went, sure, why not? It was quite nice actually.
Yeah,
I went
York's
to York.
Lovely.
Yeah, went to York Minster, went around the Shambles. Yeah, enjoyed it. It's quite nice. So yeah, there was one there was one part of the journey when we were doing a walking tour, and that I can't remember what was the back of. I think it's like a theatre. It's near the train station. We walked behind it and went around some garden, but I saw it and I went, oh, that structure looks really nice. I could do a photo shoot right there and then. Who do I know around the York area that I could do a photo shoot with? This is for my underbrand, not for food and cosplay. So I was like, ooh, this will look good here. But anyway, so yeah.
I guess that's the danger, isn't it? When you're a photographer, you see a location, you think, oh.
Oh, 100%. I look everywhere I look. Sometimes I walk down the street, stop, walk backwards, look down the alleyway and go, this will look good. And I just got to remember it. I take a picture of it, call geotagged it, call excellent, right, can move on. I can never find that photo ever again. That goes missing.
It's like a cosplayer watching TV or a movie or something. You're automatically going, I'm going to make that. Happens
oh my
every
God.
time.
That is actually the equivalent of, oh my God, I did not realise that's the equivalent for photography. Do you do that, Kev?
I not so much on TV, but you're right. When I'm wandering around Manchester, I'm always looking for new locations to shoot. Every single time. There's always something new to find.
Yeah. Honestly, it really is. Anyway, I don't want to go too much into. You can always find good places if you just look hard enough. I don't want to be saying that because everyone knows that. Because that's why I get a bitch about the grey walls. But we're not talking about the grey walls today. Anyway, so this week I wanted to talk about generative AI. Basically, I think this is a topic that's going to go on and on and on. I'm going to assume this is going to be one of many podcasts I'm going to be making or talking about generative AI or AI work and things like that. And I've had little chats with Kev, I had chats with Alex, and I thought, do you know what? Let's bring us all together. I've got a photographer, I've got a cosplayer here. Let's talk about it. Let's really talk about it and discuss what this could mean for the cosplay community. So, do you know? I'll start with Kev first. And in your mind, in your mind's eye, what does generative AI means to you? Is it a separate term to AI, or is or is it all the same thing?
I think, well, I've seen some sort of plugins and additions to Photoshop, which have existed for years, which are now calling themselves AI, because in some ways I think it's just a bit of a trendy tag to stick onto things. So there's tools like Portrait Pro, which I wouldn't use personally, but can be used to, do some editing on people's faces. And in the past, it's just been a plug-in to Photoshop, but now it's an AI tool. I think it's the same thing. It's just they've relabeled it. So I think some of it is a bit of a rebranding, just because AI seems to be a lot in the public awareness at the moment. But then you do have the generative side of it, which is, I do think, something completely different and something completely new. So I think some of the AI stuff is just automations and taking the automations further. Whereas the generative stuff is creating something from nothing, basically. Does that make sense?
No, that makes sense to me. I mean, I've got a definition from Wikipedia, but I want to, but I want to hear what my guest thinks what it is. So, Alex, what does when you hear generative AI, what does what images come to your mind? No pun intended.
It makes me think of all those TikTok and Instagram filters that have been going around recently. I can't remember, is it FaceApp or something? Where you upload a picture of yourself and it converts it into something completely different. And I know there was a big scare recently going around all over the internet being like, oh, put your picture up into this. And then it was the whole, should we be doing this? And that's what that makes me think of. And it scares me a little bit, definitely.
Yeah. No, that's fine. I mean, did you know that if you use that sunglasses filter, that it needs to see your eyes to place the sunglasses? I don't know if you knew that, because the US Senate meeting, they had to ask that question because where else would sunglasses be?
I know, right?
Oh, such a dumb question. Anyway, let me read what Wikipedia says about generative artificial intelligence. So, generative AI is a type of artificial intelligence system capable of generating text, images, or other media in a response to prompts. Generative AI models learn the patterns and structure of their input training data by applying neural network machine learning techniques and then generate new data that has similar characteristics. So based on that, I will admit myself, I've used ChatGPT just to understand and see where it's come from and what it could be used for. Because I'm always a sucker for new technology and how it could be used in my life. I'll start with Alex on this one. But have you used generative AI specific like specific tools that say this is generative AI? Like ChatGPT, like the Photoshop. Generative AI tools or any other mediums that use like the term generative AI?
I've used ChatGPT. We tried it out at work a little bit to generate some ideas and just kind of see what happens from it. It's quite interesting. We've also we updated our Photoshop at work and found the AI tools are in that. I haven't tried them yet just because I haven't had a chance yet. And I probably will at some point, just out of curiosity, really. But yeah, other than playing around a bit with ChatGPT, I've not really touched it too much.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. What about you, Kev? Have you had much of a play around with that type of software?
I've been. I've got the beta for Adobe Firefly, which is their standalone sort of a generative AI tool, which is still in beta at the moment. But it's interesting. I don't think it's as advanced as some of the other sort of image generative AIs out there yet. But it's only being trained, it says, on work that isn't copyrighted. So it gets around the whole. Well, it's hopefully getting around the whole issue of the learning off other people's work issues. It's been interesting. It said I've used it to edit or create images from scratch, basically, rather than editing pictures. But I've also tried the generative fill options in there. I've not tried it in Photoshop yet with the generative fill options which are being created inside Photoshop yet. But I'm planning to try it fairly soon because I do use other tools to move and tidy up backgrounds and fix outfit failures and stuff like that. So I'm more than happy to try these tools and see if they can make my workflow easier. But yeah, Adobe Firefly, that's the one I've been playing around with.
No, that's cool, and we'll delve deeper into the use of the Photoshop Firefly, because it's quite interesting that you mentioned about how these learning tools are not like how they've learned are not from. There's an argument that some of it's been used from copyrighted materials, and they're like pulling data from open source websites such as like I think Twitter maybe, but also like Reddit. And I'm sure there's others, just any open source materials like images of probably off Google Images, things like Google creating their own generative AI called Bard and things like that. And I don't know how I feel about its use of learning, because we all learn from as humans, we do learn from like going and researching the materials online or paying for it behind paywalls and things like that. So at the moment right now, I mean, Alex, are you worried about this technology at the moment, or are you excited by it?
I think a bit of both, to be honest, because it is quite exciting to see where it's going to take you. And like, I consume a lot of like cyberpunk and futuristic materials, so it's kind of heading towards that future stuff. There, it's exciting in that sense, but it is kind of scary when you think about what it could do and what it could be used for. Like,
yes,
where's that line? Like, where do you stop?
Oh, 100%, 100%. Okay, what about yourself? Are you worried or excited by it?
If it can make my editing easier and better, then I'm all for it. I don't think it's not a replacement. If you go back 30 years, everybody was having all these same conversations really about Photoshop being introduced. And Photoshop has grown and changed over the last 30 years, and people have just got used to the fact that when you take a picture, you will be bringing it into Photoshop and you will be editing the images. And I think generative AI, if we're just using it as a tool to help us with that editing process, I don't have any issue with that. What I think is an issue, perhaps, is when it's being used too much, and you're changing the basic concept of what you're photographing. So it's no. So are you looking at a photograph, or are you looking at something which has been generated completely by AI? Is it clear which is which? Have you changed the image so much that it now no longer is, say, a photograph of a cosplayer? It's you've changed everything basically. It doesn't look like the person. It doesn't look like the outfit. It doesn't look like the location. Where's the
where's that line in a sense? Yeah, and I think I'm not saying we will, by the end of this 1 hour podcast, we will have those answers. No, but it's nice to discuss it and see, because so I have used the Photoshop beta with generative fill AI in it, and I will share my experiences of it. But I will, I'll say it now. I'm impressed by it so far. I do love your caveat of, hopefully it's using non-copyrighted material, but without knowing what that material is, you do have to go, ugh. But there are some other, like, generative AI tools out there are using copyright materials, and we just don't know where it's coming and how it's used and things like that. And I think that's the scary side for me, that my photography work that's been out there for years and years it probably has been used in one way or another, and I'd like to know how it's been used more than anything else, really. I'll stick with Alex on this one, because I want to get a cosplayer's point of view on this. But how do you see generative AI being used in the cosplay community? Have you thought of ways that you think, I could use ChatGPT to maybe tell me how to make this, or to research this for me, or maybe, I need some help with just editing this selfie that I took. Those are the topics that's popped in your head so far.
Yeah, I think photo wise, I think it'll come in handy for, like you say, if you take a selfie, sometimes, especially, I found this over COVID. Obviously, you couldn't go out anywhere to do any location shoots, so it would have been kind of cool to be able to, like, change the background or something, make it look a bit more kind of stylized towards the cosplay.
Yeah.
So I think I could see myself using it in terms of things like that. Yeah, in terms of other cosplay uses, you could, like you said, chat GPT to generate ways to make something. I have seen people starting to do things like that. I think it's popped up on Reddit and Twitter recently, where people have used it to generate, like, a blueprint basically on how to make something, or like get a rough idea. I've seen people using it to make cosplay resources as well, so like tutorials. So they'll upload their pictures that they've taken of whatever it is they're making, and it will basically write out all the instructions for them. So like, I've seen things like that starting to pop up, and I think that's quite useful.
Yeah. Kevin?
I think I'd be a bit worried, or a bit concerned perhaps, about using ChatGPT for instructional purposes. I remember I was watching something the other day where there was a court case in America, and the lawyers, rather than properly researching the case law for what they were bringing to court, decided to get ChatGPT to do their research for them. And basically, it just made up the cases because it knew what result they wanted. So it made up legal cases and case law for an argument to present for, why they should get the outcome they were looking at. And not only did the case fail, because basically the defendant said we can't find these cases, but the two lawyers in question got disbarred. And their defence, when they were called up to the judge about why they'd used ChatGPT, they said they thought it was a research tool. They didn't realise it was just making things up. So, so I think if you're relying on it to give you instructions on how to do something, it might not be right.
I think at the moment it's probably a bit primitive, but down the line, who knows?
Well, I think until they can put some controls in it to to actually only tell things which are true and not just invent things, I'm not sure, because the trouble with these, especially the text ones at the moment, is they trawl the net to learn. And basically, I think I've read some articles where even the people which created them aren't exactly sure how some of these AIs learn, what they learn. I think wasn't it Twitter which launched an AI which got very racist very quickly, and
no, that's Donald Trump. That's Donald Trump's feed. That's all it was.
but I think basically they launched it, and within about 24 hours or something, they had to take it down because he was saying Hitler was correct and all this sort of stuff.
Oh my god!
honestly, it was terrible. Yeah, there's been a few AIs now which have gone basically really off the deep end.
It's very Age of Ultron vibes, where Ultron wanted to bring peace on Earth through everything he had learned. And he just came to the conclusion that humans were terrible people, so all of them must die.
See, I was going down the Skynet route, so yes.
The thing is, there's lots of things on the internet. There's lots of really, really bad things on the internet. And these generative AIs aren't just learning what's good and what works well. They're learning all the crap and all the bad things as well.
You can almost say it's a reflection on human society at the moment.
Well, yeah. but the internet has always given voices to minority ideas and lots of conspiracies, and they're even though they might be not represented as in a big way in the real world, they can be on the internet, and that can, I think, skew a lot of the learning that these generative AIs are actually picking up. So yes, I think that is, generative AI is great, but there are a lot of things to watch out for as well. I haven't seen it yet so much in the image ones, especially image ones like Midjourney, which have got really quick, really well. But then a lot of the other photo ones still have trouble with hands.
Do they?
Yeah. Whereas the text ones, like I said, their problems seem to be just learning bad stuff or just making stuff up. So it's not something you should really be relying on all the time.
It's quite interesting you talk about like safeguards and things like that. So as I mentioned, I have started using the beta version of Photoshop, which has the generative fill AI. And a few times it has come back with a response of, you have violated our terms for using generative AI, because I didn't realize it used I don't know why I didn't think this, but it uses the internet to pull and generate the images and put onto your computer.
Right.
And I don't know what it violated, but maybe I don't know if it's selections I've made, and it's definitely not the words I put in.
Well, I know that I have played around with Firefly, and it's very picky with certain words. It won't allow anything to do with blood or gore or sex or anything like that. A lot of terms, like you'd have a filter on banned words in a forum or something.
Yeah.
A lot of words it just throws out with an error warning saying you've violated their terms or something. When you're using, there's a word in your criteria which it won't accept, and some of the words are completely innocuous, and you've just got to think of another. You have to go and find another word for the same thing.
Yeah, and all I was like remove people. That's all I wrote. Jeez, Kev, I haven't asked you about your point of view about how you see generative AI being used in the cosplay community. Let's leave photography to one side because that's coming up next.
I have no idea. I really don't. It's got to be said. These are early days. These are early days. So
100%. That's it. I was going to bring up. So in my job, I work at a school, and I thought, I can easily see this being used in school for people to write essays. So I thought that's why I thought I'll try out ChatGPT and just bang out a few, see if I can create some essays. It's not that brilliant. It's not that great. It only does about 200 words. And it's quite basic, I think. And like you were saying earlier, you don't know what's actually written and it's actually all true. I said, look, if you're going to use it as a tool, and I think there's a clear distinction about one or the other, but if you use it as a tool and say, if you're not good at writing up essays, you don't know where to start, you just want a basic structure, probably use ChatGPT to get that basic structure first, and then build upon it with your own research, making sure what's written there is all correct and things like that. I think it's the exact same thing about other things about generative AI.
funnily enough, I'm in the process at the moment, because instead of changing everything around with the studio, of recreating my website. And something new which I went into the creator. Now, when I put a text box there, it's got generative AI. So it actually it's creating the text on my website for me. But once again, basically I type in, I want a paragraph about me and what I've done, and it generates something, and then I'll go in and fix it, basically. But yes, you're right. It's given me the basic structure for each of the sections of my website, putting all the text in, and then I am literally going through it, checking what it said, and actually fixing it to be better. So it's very handy. But as I was saying before, I do think though these are such early days with generative AI. We've got no idea where it's going to go and how it's going to be used. And I was reading something the other day where there's 55,000 jobs going at BT because they're replacing their customer service call centres with AI technology. So that's just one thing with one company. I have no idea how it's going to affect just general life of normal people.
Oh well, as of this podcast being recorded, both the Writers Guild and Screen Actors Guild are on strike because part of the reason is the fear of how generative AI will be used within their industries and things like that. And I'm totally with them. I totally understand that you do need to protect their jobs and their livelihoods because, I mean, I've heard one stipulation. I don't know how true it is, but an actor that's in the background or like a background actor, not a extra, but background actor, they could scan your face and give you 1 day's work and send you off your way, and your face could be used forever. Not for your lifetime, not for an X amount of years, forever. And like, I don't know if you want to be doing things like that.
Well, the only thing I was going to say was that there's a lot of films which have been for years just using CG people for crowd scenes. And this is just the next step. So the CG crowd scene person is just going to be basically modelled on a real person and not just something that somebody's drawn and then animated. So I think it's just in some ways, a natural progression of what's been out there for a long time.
Oh, I totally get that. And, this is why I said at the beginning, I think this is going to be an ongoing conversation because this is just the start of something more. There's no way that everyone's going to go, do you know what? I'm okay with the generative AI. Let's put it back in Pandora's box. No one's going to bloody say that. Everyone's going to be going, we want more of this. We want it to be better and do more spectacular things. That's why I feel like it's always going to be an ongoing conversation. And it's not for us to decide, but it's kind of like saying, where do we draw the line? And on that note, I'm going to move on to the next question, which is, going to start with Kevin on this one. Although, Alex, I know you've been quiet. We'll bring you in later. From a photographer's point of view, is generative AI a good or a bad? And I'm going to use this word tool to be used within our, shall we say, photo editing workflow.
I think it's great, personally. Anything which makes it quicker and easier to do the steps I'd normally be doing, I'm in favour of. So let's say I took a picture of Nightwing. I took it outside a old warehouse and iron gates. I took it in the middle of a day, but it was supposed to be a dark, moody evening scene. So I then went into Photoshop, changed lots of things, removed lots of debris, fixed the gates to be how I wanted, removed things in people's windows. I had the outfit had a bit of damage on it, so I fixed the damage on the outfit to make it look better. And then obviously all the dodging and burning and all the rest of it. That took about 4 hours. Now, I think with generative AI, now it's getting smarter and smarter, but it's helping you do those steps quicker and quicker. So anything which can help and save time is a blessing. I think I've mentioned before that Photoshop has been around now for 30 years. And a lot of people were dead against people using Photoshop at all when it first came out. Whereas I don't think there's many photographers now which wouldn't be doing some sort of editing and manipulation of their images before publishing them. And I think it's the same with AI. But it's just going to be extra tools we use to help us with our edits.
No, I totally understand. What about Alex? I want to bring you on this before I jump in. How did you? Because obviously, I think the biggest thing that's going to affect the cosplay community will be the photography side of things, generative AI. From your point of view, when a photographer either talks about it or uses generative AI, do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing?
I'm all for it if it helps you guys edit quicker, because I know how long editing takes. And like you say, you can get the AI to do a few steps that would normally take you a very long time. And I'm all for that. But I've had experience now where a photographer has taken a cosplay photo that they took of me and used AI to completely change me. So my face was different, my body was edited. It no longer was me. It was my suit that I had spent a very long time making. It was my wig that I'd spent a very long time styling, but the person in it was not me. And then that was going all over the internet and being banded about as, oh, look what I can do with AI now. And that was really scary because they didn't ask me. And I know they don't have to because it is their image. But it just would have been nice as a courtesy, to say, hi, I hope you don't mind. I'm going to be trying AI out on this. And I could have said, oh, that is a bit worrying, because at the end of the day, it's me in that picture. And it is scary to think about what could be done to cosplayers without our consent or without our knowledge half the time. So as a Black Widow cosplayer, I get it a lot about the suits that I'm wearing, the cat suits. People saying, oh, you don't unzip your suit enough. And the worry there is they could use AI to basically make a different body for me, and I could be completely naked in a photo. Obviously, that's not a photo of me, but people looking at it might not know that. And it could do the rounds online. It could be posted somewhere. I might not even be aware of it, and that's a very extreme example, but what's stopping them from doing it? So it is scary in that sense. Like, I'm all for it if you want to remove, like you say, remove people from a background or change the background or touch ups, little things. But when you have the power to go that extreme and literally at a click of a button, it is really scary from a cosplay point of view. We're very vulnerable in this situation.
100%. And I can imagine that it's not that it affects you right there, right now, but it also might affect you in your personal life, your job life. This could, if something's edited in a like you said, in an innocuous way, this could lead you to losing your job as well. So
100%.
Yeah, so I can imagine how scary that is for you.
I keep my socials quite private in the sense that I don't use my full name, but it's not hard to link me to them. Like, my work know full well that I cosplay because they think it's brilliant, but all it takes is one person putting two and two together about who I am at work. And if anything like that was around, I don't think it would be an issue in my job. I'm not in a sort of job where that would probably cause too much issue, but it is a worry.
100%. Kevin?
I do think, though, that we're already at this stage, even without generative AI. I said there's a male cosplayer up here in the north of England who's had his pictures taken, downloaded from Insta, had somebody else's face put over them, and then uploaded as being a different person back onto Instagram again. With other edits and changes made to the body slightly, shall we say, or certain body parts.
I remember those pictures.
Yeah, exactly. But so people can make big changes to body shapes and to faces and to pretty much anything else already with Photoshop. The only difference is now that it's a lot easier. Because you just get a machine to do it rather than you having to spend time and effort trying to do it yourself.
I think the difference though is with like you say, I know exactly which example you're talking about, and it's hilarious because it's so obviously photoshopped. Whereas the AI, this photographer that changed me in the photo, if you were just scrolling, it looks 100% real, and that's the scary thing. Whereas I've had people Photoshop my body before. They used to complain that I didn't have my boobs out enough. Eddie had a comment one time saying that my boobs weren't out. And people do make slight edits, but you can tell that an edit has happened. Somebody hasn't photoshopped correctly, they're not experienced kind of thing. But
Yeah, I
AI
think that
is so
I think that goes
detailed.
down to the skill though of a person,
Oh
perhaps
yeah.
more than anything though. Yeah.
Okay, no, these are real concerns, and this is what again. We're not going to answer all these questions in this podcast, but it's definitely an open conversation. We'd love to keep going, talk about it in future podcasts. But I just want to talk about how I've been using Photoshop Beta currently. So I thought, you know what? Rather than like midway, because I was in the middle of a batch of editing when, the use of generative AI within Photoshop was being like publicized on like social media. So do you know what? I'll wait for this project to be done, and I'll start on the next project with this. And so I thought, oh, it's the MCM photos that I took in May. I'll start with those. And it is utterly astounding how well it does what it does. So the couple of examples. So before in the green where we were just chatting, and I thought, oh, this is we're talking about generative AI. Let me send you a photo. Let me send you a video of something I edited with generative AI. Now I'm going to add a big asterisk to this. I'm only using generative AI on background. I'm not using anything on the model or the cosplayer to like alter the body shape, the features, or anything like that. The only thing I've done on one person was to blend the net on the wig. What's it called? Front lace wig.
Oh,
Have I got that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Thank you. Just to blend it into the hair and the scalp a lot more. But that's the only thing I've done. So I just want to add that caveat, that asterisk, so people don't think I'm using it on the cosplayer. Now, for me to, because basically everyone hates people in the backgrounds of photos and things like that, and the ones I've been using, Friday had a lot of people around, and I didn't realize that until I started editing. Like, oh crikey! And I just thought, okay, I'll just circle around the people using the lasso and all that, and just press. And all I wrote was remove. I think the remove people. Hit enter, and on the first try, it filled in perfectly, practically perfectly. And I went, oh my god, this is actually, this quickened my process. But in fact, it hasn't, because in my brain, I'm going, oh, if I could do it on this photo, I could do it on that photo, and then I could do it on this one, and then that photo, and then this one. Oh my god, yes! And then you start then experimenting more about the different inputs you put in. So there's one, I was doing Final Fantasy photos, and I thought, oh, I played the game a little bit. I played the game a little bit, and I know it's in an industrial area. Right, I'm going to remove the people in this background, but also say, make like metal industrial area, bam, and it gave me like 3 or 4 different industrial backgrounds to use. I'm going, oh my god, this is absolutely amazing. But but you've got to spend the time creating the selection that you want and things like that. So as we were saying, it's good, but I think you've got to create your own that line of morality and go, where does it stop? For me, it's on the model itself. I will not use it to touch the model, and I'll go a bit more into that later, because I think there's a bigger question about if you don't use this for that tool. If you don't use this tool for on the model, why using this tool for on the model instead? Things like that. So we'll go into that later. We were talking about this earlier about the way that the generative AI learns from existing material, both written word, images, movies, sounds, and things like that. So, Alex, you as a cosplayer, whose your face is like, I know I took the piss out of you earlier. I can't remember if it's in the band section or not, but you've literally stood next to Scarlett Johansson, and you've been on public photos and things like that. So that's public photo. Are you worried that photo could be used as an input for other versions of generative AI to create, learning models?
I mean, there is always that worry, but the thing is, once something's online, it's online. So it's going to be in a million different places. Like using that example you used there, one of the photos that Marvel took of me and Scarlett, it was shared on every single one of their social medias worldwide. So already that's being banded about everywhere. So I guess if an AI is trawling the internet to learn, it's going to find it somewhere. So I think if you're going to put a photo on the internet, then you have to expect it to be used to an extent. Just from the general nature of how the internet works. But I mean, I personally haven't uploaded any pictures into any AI things myself, because there is, partly because I haven't used any, but also there is that slight worry about what is this going to use it for, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you were talking about earlier about like how using TikToks, and then I made a stupid joke about how the Senate needs to know you are. But I've tried not to use filters on TikTok, because not that I worry China is stealing my face data and all that, but I'm also worried if it is storing my data. Why is it storing my data? What could be used for, and things like that. And you could say that about any other data that they store on you, like the emails you receive, the Tesco club card, what food you buy, and things like that. All that data could be used both positive and negatively. But I'm like, do I want them to know that much about me? I remember when what was it? I can't remember exactly what, but we always said, "Oh, don't use this technology because it's storing, it's there to take your data." And then 1 week later, everyone's using it anyway because they went, "I don't care about this data being used. Fuck it." We're so fickle about flip flopping between it knowing our data and not knowing us. And then the next moment, "Oh, we're all doing it. We're all using it. We don't care. We're throwing caution to the wind." And it's like, I find it really weird that us as a human race do that.
I think it's new territory again at the moment. I said, I know there's been a lot of people worried that things like Midjourney are basically stealing their copyrighted material, because that's what it's using as its learning tool. And I know that you can say, I want an image in the style of, and then give a name of a person and ask it to try and create something in that person's style. And sometimes it's not just copying the images, but it's actually putting their signature on it as well. So
yes, I've heard about that. Yeah,
yeah. But as you're saying, we learn, we get inspiration from looking at images. So is that different from the machine learning and gaining inspiration, or is it just different because it's then so good at taking those elements and creating something from the elements which are specific to that particular person or that particular style, and that's why some people are so concerned about the fact that it's stealing their copyright. It's not producing the exact image that you've taken yourself, is it? It's creating something new, but it's creating something new from blending other things you've done. But it's doing that spread over, millions or possibly billions of other images that it's learnt from. So I don't know. I really don't know. Like I said, these are all new areas that we're starting to have to think about and explore. So am I worried that everything I've done for the last Christ knows how many years is part of this learning material? Not really.
Okay.
If it was pretending to be me and putting stuff out there saying, this is mine, and it wasn't, that might be slightly different. But, I can understand from a cosplay, somebody could go in and say, I want an image of this character from this film in the style of Natasha cosplay, and then would it then? Well, we're getting smarter, let's see, but it could produce an image which would be Alex in a particular costume that she's never worn. That's where these things are heading.
Oh, absolutely. And let's talk about the the use of it and things. So, who should I start with? Do you know? I'll start with that. I will start with Alex on this one. You've worked with me. I've done editing. I've edited your photos. Thing that I've tried to like remove people in the background or like put in added effects for you as I can. So, should I, if I use generative AI to help edit a photo, and I've said right now I'm using it only for background work to remove people or to enhance the background so that it enhances you more by less distraction in the background. Should I put a disclaimer to that photo to say generative AI has been used on this photo?
I don't know. I can see it from two ways, really, because one way you might think, oh, it would be quite nice to know, like just as a general, like we do it as cosplayers, like who took what photo, who did what edit, just for the credit kind of thing, you could easily say, "Oh, I've used AI on this photo," but really, I mean, does it really make that much difference? If like it's only for, like you say, a small edit or an effect or something like that, like, really, is that the same as you saying, "Oh, I edited this in Photoshop"? Like, it's basically it's your tool, isn't it? So
exactly, and that's what I forgot to mention. Did I actually finish the story about the video that I said I was talking in the green? Basically, I think I haven't finished that story, so I'm going to finish it now. So basically, when I was starting to use this generative AI in Photoshop, I thought, okay, I'll just. Oh no, I didn't finish it, but I'm going to add this story in. So the video that I sent them, is someone sitting on a stone block and had people around it, and I thought, you know what? I wonder if I can get rid of these people, but also extend the block so it looks like this one long, maybe a cliff or an edge of a building type of thing. And if I did that on my own, I think I would have spent about an hour and a half, and it would look so basically crap. But this took literally seconds to do, and I went, oh my God, what a great tool this is going to be. And Alex was just saying, like, so just to bring it back round the other way, it is a tool to us. So, Kevin, I want to get your opinion on this. Do you see this as a complement? What's the word? A complementary tool that goes with, such as like content aware, liquify, clone stamp, things like that.
Yeah. So let's ask a question. If you had done that change in Photoshop and spent, the hour and a half, you say, to actually do that change, would you have then said this was created by Photoshop?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think you would you?
I would not, and I think there's a difference in though, because you could argue a photographer edited that and spent his time and energy to create it to looking like that, whereas
but
a computer.
But you're still using your eye and your skills in how to do this to make those changes. The computer's not doing it, is not doing anything without your instruction to do it, and it doesn't know what you want to change and what you want to change it to. You're making all those decisions still.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. But I just think because there's such a stigma about generative AI at the moment, literally both, about where it's getting its data from, either from a non-copyrighted pool of data versus copyright material. I think there's going to be some question about it. But also I worry that people look at my work and go, wow, Eddie's really stepped up his game. Oh, look, his skills just I don't want people to think that, whoa, I didn't do all of that. I don't know. I mean, Alex, what do you do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I was just going to say, from a cosplayer point of view, I wouldn't be concerned about like you making edits like that. Like, I'd think, oh wow, that's a great picture. But like you say, if you were using it in that sense, that you've used it as a tool to change the background or like remove pictures, remove people, and all of that stuff, I'd just be like, okay, fair enough. Wouldn't really even think about it like that. But I think if I looked at a photo from a photographer and it looked very kind of sus in that sense, like the person looked different or something, and they'd really gone to town with it, I think then I would want to know. Like, say it was a cosplayer that I knew, and like I didn't recognize them in that picture, but I knew it was them because I know their cosplay. It would be a bit, or if they've been tagged, for example, like if a photographer tagged them in it and it looked super different, I think then it would be good to say like, oh, this was edited with AI. I think that it's that fine line that we haven't probably worked out yet, I guess, because everything is still so new. Like, where do you cross it? But generally, from an editing point of view, like you say, you wouldn't say, oh, this was edited in Photoshop. Like, if I saw that on a caption on Instagram, I'd be like, cool. Good to know.
Yeah, good to know.
Just to add that, it is just another tool in the photographer's kit bag. Basically, it's just something else we can use. But yes, if somebody questions something, then I think it's fair enough to say, that's what happened. I think somebody, wasn't it a few weeks ago, somebody posted one of your photos saying, oh, I really like the lighting in this picture, and you remember which one I'm talking about?
Yeah. No, because I'll tell you a story about that. Because they were saying, right, they said, so the conversation on Facebook went, oh, that was really nice, thank you very much, but I didn't do any of the heavy lifting. My friend did the lighting rig and all that. But he said, no, Ed. And he saw me at LECC and he bitch slapped me. He goes, but you made the decision of how to take that photo, at what aperture,
Absolutely.
ISO and things and things like that. Yes, Kev did the light work and positioned it, but I maybe said, Kev, you could just bring the light closer or farther away or just angle it, and then I took my picture.
But that's exactly the same thing as what we're talking about here with generative AI. You're the one that's making all these decisions for what you want it to do. And if you don't like what it did, then you step back and try it again. So you're still in control here.
Absolutely.
And it's your image still at the end of the day. Now, if then you've gone too far and you're editing a person so it's no longer a person or whatever, then that's a problem with that person going too far with the image. It's not a problem with generative AI again. It's a problem with the person.
Yeah, because I'll tell you another example. I've used generative AI and then reverted back to just going back to what I know. So those who are at MCM London know how windy it was that whole weekend. So there's a lot of hair flying around in front of face and things like that. And there was the model I was working with, the hair went across the face, along the top lip. And I just went, okay, I want to see if generative AI can deal with that. So I selected around the jaw area where it covered the majority of the hair. And I said, remove hair from the face. But not only did it remove the hair, it changed the mouth as well.
Oh.
And you can tell, and I don't know why I didn't think I'll just remove the mouth. Maybe because the hair went across the mouth as well, so that's probably why I was thinking. But because it changed the mouth as well, and you can tell, if I just left it as the mouth did not match the face. If you just look from one previous photo to the next photo, it's not the same mouth. And yeah, you're right. I made that decision I didn't go, I'm just going to leave it like this. I made the decision, no, revert back, make the changes that I want myself, so that if to me it kept the integrity of that model as whole. Like you said, Alex, I don't want it to look like that. I've drastically altered their in a sense their face, their identity, really, and things like that. So
I think that's
it's yeah. Go on.
No, I think that's what shocked me about seeing this other photographer's photo of me, because they hadn't said that they were playing with AI. They just posted it as a Facebook post. They did say in the post, "I've been playing with AI," and when you looked at it, you could. I mean, me knowing that was me, knowing the photo, it's my profile. It's one of my profile pictures on one of my socials, so I know that picture very well. And I took one look and I was like, "Wait, that's not me." And it looked almost like a video game character. Like, it was so edited, and you could tell stuff had been done to it. And I think that's why it was such a shock, because it was so jarring when you saw it alongside the original image about how different.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, they've done some cool stuff to the background. Like, that worked out really well. But yeah, that actually changed me. And that was just, it was really jarring. That's a good word for it.
Absolutely, I can understand that. Well, I don't know if this segues into the next question. If a photographer, and I'll start with Alex on this one, because I definitely want to get your view first. If you knew the photographer used generative AI to create to edit the photo, and it doesn't matter if it was just background work or they did things on the model. It doesn't. I'm not saying me. I'm saying any photographer. Do you think they should be allowed to earn money in the exact same way or similar way that they would if they did the manual, old style, liquify, clone stamp, content aware, composite editing, that type of work? Do you think they should still earn money that way?
I think it would depend on what they'd use the AI for. So I think if they were using it as a tool to do the edits that they would have done anyway, then I don't see why not, because it's no different to a new technology coming out to help you do your job better. So I don't see why there should be an issue there. But when they're using it to create something insane, then maybe not. Like, it's finding that line. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's a tricky one, because obviously.
No, absolutely. If you don't know the answer, if you can't give an answer, that's absolutely fine, because it's an open. Literally, like I said, it's a very new technology. I don't think we know enough, and that might be the only answer we can give right now. Is like, we don't know.
I think it depends how much of the content is their content. Like, if they've taken the photo and they're editing it, where's that line of how much they edit it before it becomes more AI generated than it is their original photo?
Yeah. Let me give you one example then before Kev comes in and see what he says about what I'm about to say. So there's a photo that I've edited at MCM London. It's in the tree area and things like that, and there's obviously people in the background. So I've selected just below the bottom of the leaf line and just above the ground. So it's that more or less a tree trunk area. And I'd selected all of that, obviously minus the person, and I wrote Enchanted Forest. Hit enter, bam, and I think of the three options, it did in one go, and I went, oh wow, that's really good. But I also worried, oh wow, that was too easy, and that's what and I wondered, how much can I be credited for that? But like I said, I've not touched the model. I'm still doing the same thing I would do with every model picture. Get the color correction and things like that. If I need a skin smoothing, add contour, things like that. I'm still doing that work. So Kev, based on either what I've just said or the original question of can or should photographers earn money if they're using generative AI? Should they?
I think if you're using it as a tool to edit a photograph you've taken, then it's just a tool, and it's no different from just using Photoshop or various other plugins or various other programs to edit that image or make a composition with other elements. I think, though, that if you're using somebody's likeness to then create something new, that's a different issue. It's like I was saying before, with these generative AI tools, I've seen a local photographer up here recently creating images just by having various models' faces. They send him a picture of their face, and then he'll create a completely new image based on their face, but in a different set, in a different outfit. And I think if you've got the permission from the person whose face you're using, that's fine. And a lot of them at the moment don't look necessarily realistic, but that's only because these generative AIs are still learning. And I think it's going to get to a stage soon where you'll be able to use anybody's likeness to create anything you want. And I think that's when things can get really sticky. And we've got to be a bit careful about what's permitted and what's not permitted. So, and I do think that there's going to become some more legislation in terms of what's allowed and what's not allowed, because I do think some of these areas are going to require that. But we've already had competitions where people, rather than taking a photo, have entered a AI created image and they've won a photography competition, and then it's only afterwards where we've said, oops, sorry, I didn't actually take a picture. This is all created with generative AI.
Oh wow!
I think it was one of Sony's international competitions, and obviously, they got thrown out and banned from future competitions. But they won. And there was no photo involved at all. It was all created within generative AI. So it's already becoming difficult to police, shall we say? And I can see that getting worse as these things get better.
It's a really interesting viewpoint, and
I know we're talking about money and should you make profit off it, but I do think there's a difference between just editing something and using it as a tool to edit something which exists, and using it as a tool to create something which doesn't exist. And I think that, to me, if you're using it as a tool to create something which exists, that's fine. And how far you go and what you should be doing, I think at the moment that's down to the is morals the right word of the photographer? But I do think that if you're using somebody else's likeness, shall we say, to create new works, then if you've got their permission, that's fine. But if you don't have their permission, then there must be laws that this fails. I don't know.
No, absolutely. I think that's where we are still stuck about generative AIs, especially if it's using copyrighted material, or like you said, the likeness of people, or or properties as well. Because if I go to Canary Wharf and try to shoot photos there, I will be stopped by people, by security, and said you can't shoot here because it's private property. If I say, oh, take this model, please put Canary Wharf background there, bam, and I make money off that. I know I'm in the wrong, but how much am I in the wrong? Because I wasn't technical on your property. I'm just using the likeness of the Canary Wharf area. Like, it's that murky ground that we talk about. Yeah, and it's fascinating. I would love to keep talking more and more about this, but we are dangerously running out of time on the podcast, and I just want to have one more question. I want to leave on a positive, hopefully a positive note, and I'll start with Kev on this one. Can you see generative AI being used in a positive way in both, photography wise, cosplay wise, or just in general, really?
Yeah, absolutely. It allows, say if you are an experienced Photoshop person, it's still going to allow you to do things quicker and easier than you've done before. If you're less experienced, perhaps, it will allow you to do things which you haven't been able to do before. But even with, say, ChatGPT, you can use it to help you write stuff that you might well have struggled for. I know people which have got dyslexia and have trouble writing, and being able to just put a few commands in, or just use a voice to text to put something together, and then have ChatGPT write it out for them is fantastic. So yeah, I think generative AI is not going anywhere now. It's here for good, and I think there's lots of positive things it can be used for.
No, 100%, 100%. Alex, what about yourself?
Yeah, I think in terms of cosplay, I think it's going to be very useful down the line. I think as a tool, it can open things up for a lot of people. So, say if there's somebody who maybe lives a bit far away from big conventions, or like can't go and get photos taken, they can take their own photos and use AI to edit them, make them look really, really cool, and have that content for themselves. Like, I think in terms of things like that, I think it will be a very good thing. I think we have to be a bit cautious about the extent to which it's used in cosplays, because we are very vulnerable in that area, and that does worry me like quite a bit. But also, you do have to think it is kind of the position you put yourself in as well sometimes. So it's that.
Yeah.
I think it's just everybody's learning. I think none of us really know where it's going to go or what it's going to do. It's just trusting that it's gonna be used well, I think. But no, overall, I think it's a positive tool. Definitely, it's got its uses.
Absolutely, and I'm glad we can leave it on at least a positive note about generative AI. But I can seriously foresee that this conversation will come back around, if not on this podcast, but other people's podcasts. Social media and things like that. And yeah, I'm looking forward to where this goes. I'm very fascinated. And on that extent, we'll probably take this conversation to the podcast extra. We'll probably talk about I don't know if the two, because obviously they don't, my two guests haven't used Photoshop Beta. I have, so I don't know if we should just go and talk about how I use it and things like that. So if you're very interested about how I'm using it at the moment, come to the podcast extra. We'll be there. But on that note, thank you very much, Alex and Kev. Thanks for talking about generative AI. No problem. Alex, if people need to find you on the social medias, where can they find you?
They can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Natasha Cosplay.
Fantastic. Kev, where can they find you on the social media?
I'll just give websites, because I'm in the process of redoing them at the moment. So hopefully within a couple of weeks it should be updated. And then there'll be links to everything else on there. So cosplay is cosplay.co.uk, and my general photography is kevinpack.co.uk.
Amazing. If you go to foodandcosplay.org No? What do I usually say? Oh, /links. God. Oh my God. I've literally I had a brain fart moment. I really did. Maybe I should get generative AI to do this part for me. If you go to foodandcosplay.org /links, you'll find all my social media links that I'm there, but I'm also on Threads as well. I'm actually trying to use Threads a lot more to communicate with cosplayers, so feel free to hit me up on that. Again, my handle is foodandcosplay, all one word. If you go to foodandcosplay.org generally, you'll find daily cosplay photos, some articles here and there. I'm trying to scale that back a little bit. If you go to filmcosplay.org/podcast, you'll find previous recorded podcasts that I've recorded with Alex and Kev separately, with different subjects, different guests, blah-da-da-da-da. If you go to patreon.com/filmcosplay, you will hear the aforementioned podcast section and other podcast extras I've recorded that's gone in companion with other podcasts I've recorded that week. So on that note, I think we should say all goodbye. Should we all say goodbye? Let's say goodbye. So thank you very much, Alex. Thank you very much, Kev. And I'll see everyone soon. So bye, guys!
Bye! You just sat here waving. I'm like, nobody can see me.